Hello and welcome to this final first look exploring session looking at The Spanish Gypsy by Thomas Middleton, Thomas Dekker, John Ford and William Rowley. We are approaching Act 4 and 5 and the play has some serious themes to do with sexual violence and some issues with depiction of race, but hopefully for this final leg of the play, everything will be all light and lovely. But there's no guarantees of that. It's an early modern play. Who knows? To find out how the play is going to conclude, we have this wonderful set of readers, most of whom will not be talking to themselves at any particular time. But they're inevitably going to be various characters that they're playing are going to be in the same scene as themselves, so they may do different voices every so often, just to confuse you. To try to navigate our way through, we have reading today. Reading day, Diego and Roderigo is
Lois in London.
Reading Eugenia, Pedro and Antonio is
in Suffolk.
Reading Lewis is
Mark in the Midwest United States.
Reading John is Don John is not moving.
Hi. I'm here.
You're here. Ah.
Yeah, sorry, I'm just a bit perplexed because it shows me that my mic is muted, but
yes, you're not moving on my screen, so hey, gremlins! Woohoo!
Yeah, no, it's been doing stuff.
Okay, who are you? Oh, you're moving again.
Cool. Yes, I'm here. I'm Eric, and I don't have a purpose in life, so that's me.
Okay, all kinds of stuff.
Cool. That's cool. Reading Sancho today is
Hello, it's Sue in Norwich, Norfolk.
Reading Clara,
England.
Soto and Christiana is
Lynn in the northwestern United States.
Reading Fernando is
Kyle in Tucson.
Reading Alvarez and Francisco is
Sarah in Germany.
Reading Pretiosa, Cardochia and Servantus is
Aliki in Athens.
And I'm your host, Robert Crighton. I'll be reading stage directions, generally keeping this thing moving forward. So Act 4, Scene 1. Enter quite a lot of people, actually. Enter Alvarez, Sancho, Soto, Antonio, Carlo, Eugenia, Pretiosa, Christiana, and Don John. A shout within. All together now.
Welcome.
More sacks to the mill.
More thieves to the sacks.
Peace.
I give you my own welcome without noise.
It's music to me.
He offers to kiss her.
Oh, sir.
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 You must not be in your mutton before we are out of our veal.
Stay for vinegar to your oysters. No opening till then.
No kissing till you're sworn.
Swear me then quickly. I have brought gold for my admission.
Oh, is that me, Alvarez? I'm sorry. What you bring leave, and what you leave, count lost.
I brought my teeth. 2 are stuck out. Then my count lost. So must you.
I brought all my wits. Half I count lost. So must you.
To be as you are, I lose father, friends, birth, fortunes, all the world. What will you do with the beast I rode hither? I rode
A
all.
beast? It's a mule? Send him to Mully Crag. We are Barbary.
Is an ass? Give it to a lawyer, for in Spain they ride upon none else.
Kill him by any means, lest being pursued the beast betray me.
Oh, he the beast betrays any man.
Except a bailiff to be pumped.
Pray buy the carcass and the furniture.
Do. Bury the assets, household stuff, and in the skin, so any man's that's mad for a woman.
Do so then, bury it. And now to your oath.
All things are ready.
Thy best hand lay on this turf of grass, there thy heart lies. Vow not to pass from us 2 years for sun nor snow, for hill nor dale, howe'er winds blow. Vow the hard earth to be thy bed, with her green cushions under thy head, flowery banks or moss to be thy board, water thy wine,
And drink like a lord.
Kings
Oh,
can
Kings
have
Kings can
have
have but
coronations.
coronations. We
We're as
are as
proud of
proud of
gypsy
gypsy
proud of
fashions.
gypsy
Dance,
fashions.
sing,
and in a
and in a well-mixed order. Close this new brother of our order.
our order.
What we get, with us come share. You to get must vow to care. Nor strike gypsy, nor stand by when strangers strike, but fight or die. Our gypsy wenches are not common. You must not kiss a fellow's layman, nor to your own, for one you must, in song send errands of base lust.
Dance,
Sing, and in a well-mixed
And in a
order,
well-mixed
close
order,
this new
brother
brother
of
of
order.
our
of our
order.
order.
On this turf of grass I vow your laws to keep, your laws allow.
A gypsy, a gypsy, a gypsy.
gypsy.
Now choose what maid yet has yet no mate. She's yours.
Here then I fix my fate.
Offers to kiss.
Again, fall to before you have washed.
Your nose in the manger before the oats are measured, jade, so hungry.
Set foot to foot, those garlands hold. Teach him how, now mark what more is told. By cross arms the lovers sign, a vow as these flowers themselves entwine, of April's wealth building a throne round, so your love to one or none. By those touches of your feet, you must each night embracing meet. Chaste howe'er, disjoined by day, you the sun with her must play. She to you the marigold, to none but you her leaves unfold. Wake she or sleep, your eyes so charm, want woe nor weather do her harm.
This is, yeah, is she really in this scene? No.
Who knows? That's what it's down as. Go for it.
It's probably Carlo, but anyway.
Yeah,
This
probably
is your
is.
market now of kisses, buy and sell, free each other blisses.
Most willingly.
Holy days.
Holy days, high
high
days,
days,
gypsy fairs, when
fairs,
kisses are fairings and hearts beat in
and
pairs.
hearts beat in pairs.
All ceremonies end here. Welcome, brother gypsy.
And the better to instruct thee, Mark, what a brave life 'tis all the year long.
And there's a song.
Brave Dom.
We're assuming it's Sancho, but it might be all sorts of people. But Sancho, take it away. You don't have to sing. You don't have to sing.
Why not?
It's up to
Brave
you.
Don, cast your eyes on our gypsy fashions in our antique redegoys. We do beyond all nations, plump Dutch as us Grutch. So do English, so do French. He that lopes on the ropes, show me such another wench. We no camels have to show, nor elephant with growl's head. We can dance, he cannot go, because the beast is corn-fed. No blind bears shedding tears for a collier's whipping, apes nor dogs, quick as frogs, over cudgels skipping. Jack-in-boxes, nor decoys, puppets, nor such poor things, nor are we those roaring boys that cousins fools with gilt rings. For an ocean, not such emotion as the city Nineveh, dancing, singing, and fine ringing, you these sports shall hear and see. Come now, what shall his name be?
His name shall now be Andrew. Friend Andrew, mark me. 2 years I am to try you to prove fine gold. The uncracked diamond of my faith shall hold.
My vows are rocks of adamant.
2 years you are to try me. Black when I turn, may I meet youth and want, old age and scorn.
King's diadems shall not buy thee.
Do you think you can endure the life and love it?
As usurers dote upon their treasure.
But when your fate shall be tamed like a sailor's workday hand,
When your feet shall be galled and your noddle be mauled,
when the woods you must forage and not meet with poor peas porridge,
be all to be dabbled, yet lie in no sheet.
With winter's frost, hail, snow, and sleet, what life will you say it is then?
As now the sweetest. Away, away, the corregidor has sent for you.
That might be
Diego
my.
within.
I think that might be my line. It doesn't make any sense otherwise.
Yeah, I think that's the Diego within, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
Away! The corregidor has sent for you. Still
Hence merry fine to get money. Dry are the fields, the banks are sunny. Silver is sweeter far than honey. Fly like swallows. We are our conies must get mallows. Who loves not his ill, let him die at the gallows. Hence, bonny girls, foot it trimly, smug up your beetle brows, none look grimly, to show a pretty foot. Oh, 'tis seemly.
Everybody exits, apart from Soto. Enter Cardochia.
Do you hear? You, Gypsy! Gypsy!
Me?
There's a young gypsy, newly entertained. Sweet gypsy, call him back for 1-2 words, and here's a jewel for thee.
Oh, I'll send him.
What's his name?
Andrew.
Exit Soto.
A very handsome fellow. I have seen courtiers jet up and down in their full bravery, yet here's a gypsy worth a drove of them.
Enter Don John.
With me, sweetheart.
Your name is Andrew?
Yes.
You can tell fortunes, Andrew?
I could once, but now I have lost that knowledge. I'm in haste and cannot stay to tell you yours.
I cannot tell yours then. And because you are in haste, I'm quick. I'm a maid.
So, a maid quick.
Juana Cardochia, that's mine own name. I am my mother's heir, here to this house, and 2 more.
I buy no lands.
They shall be given you with some plate and money, and free possession, during life, of me, so the match like you. For so well I love you, that I, in pity of this trade of gypsying, being base, idle, and slavish, offer you a state to settle you, my youth and beauty, desired by some brave Spaniards. So I may call you my husband, shall I, Andrew?
Last pretty soul, better stars guide you. May that hand of Cupid ache ever shoot this arrow at your heart. Sticks there one such indeed.
I would there did not, since you'll not pluck it out.
Good sweet, I cannot, for marriage 'tis a law amongst us gypsies. We match in our own tribes. For me to wear you, I should but wear you out.
I do not care. Where would you can out all my life, my wealth? Ruin me, so you lend me but your love, a little of your love.
Would I could give it, for you are worth a world of better men, for your free noble mind. Oh, my best wishes stay with you. I must hence.
Wear for my sake this jewel?
I'll not rob you, I'll take nothing.
Wear it about your neck but 1 poor moon. If in that time your eye be as 'tis now, send my jewel home again, and I protest I'll never more think on you. Deny not this, put it about your neck.
Well, then 'tis done.
Puts on jewel.
And vow to keep it there.
By all the goodness I wish I tend your fortunes, I do vow it.
Exit John.
Scorned! Thou hast tempered poison to kill me. Thyself shall drink, since I cannot enjoy thee. My revenge shall.
Enter Diego.
Where are the gypsies?
Gone. Diego, do you love me?
Love thee, Juana. Is my life mine? It is but mine so long as it shall do thee service.
There is a younger gypsy newly entertained.
Handsome rascal. What of him?
The slave, in obscene language, courted me, drew riles out, and would have bought my body, Diego, from thee.
Is he so itchy? I'll cure him.
I shall not touch the villain. What's been his fate? Woman strike sure, fall the blow ne'er so late.
Strike on, sin. Thou'lt be a striker.
Exit Diego.
What does that mean?
Okay, so there's quite a lot going on here. So all of through the last 2 sessions, we've sort of been going, what is Don John for? and it had been set up earlier. They had mentioned that he should go, to join their band and 2 years and things. But then we get this one of us scene, which is interesting, and we get all this sort of back and forth, and then we get this additional complication of someone's in love with him, and and it's like, we've got enough things going on without this being added in Act 4. I'm confused, so I'll go to Lynn, then Lois, and then Alan.
Have we even seen Cardochia before?
She's been there before.
She's been there, yes. She has been.
okay.
She has been listed as a vaguely speaking part. She's said a few lines, but nothing substantial.
But Don John joined the Gypsies because he wants to be with Pretiosa, right? Because he's in love with her, and she's pretending to be a gypsy. She's actually an aristocrat's daughter, right?
They're all aristocrats. I mean, that's the
Yeah,
problem.
right. None of this gang is actually gypsies. They're not. Okay.
I mean,
Okay.
And it's like, you must join our trade and do all these things. And I'm going, almost none of you are actually real.
Yeah. Okay.
In fact, I like
None of them at all, right?
Yeah.
None of them at all. And I think he's making it up as he goes along. He's like, okay, now stop improvising an entry song.
Anyway, Lois.
I just think it's a surprisingly pretty scene. I mean, all those verses about what you've got to do if you're a gypsy and what our life is like. I mean, it's almost pastoral, really.
I mean, it's an incredibly fun scene. I absolutely enjoyed it, but it's like every so often this play just sort of hits you in the face and sends you in a different direction. It's very confusing, but entertaining. And actually, again, we were talking about where to put the interval. If you put the interval just before this scene, this is a really interesting, fun way of starting the second half of a play. Alan, then Eric, then Susan.
Yeah, we had a similar sort of scene earlier when we had the gypsies and loads of song and dodgy rhyme. I must admit, the thought that went through my mind, I thought theatre of the absurd was a 1950s concept. It seems to have started considerably earlier.
I don't think it's absurdist, but it is odd as to all the things that are going on. I say, because there is no sort of depth to this band and their traditions. Because when she comes in and says, "I must have Don John," I assumed that was some sort of trick. That was some sort of test of his fidelity to the band and their code. And then at the end, she's genuinely interested in, and is quite, and the whole duel thing was going to be, you failed the test, Don John, at your first hurdle. None of that happened. So yeah, Eric. No, Alan, sorry, and then Eric. Oh no, just done Alan. Eric.
I think you need more coffee. No, I was gonna say that I find it funny how they're like, "Oh yes, you must endure the hardships of our life," and like they've only been gypsies for like 5 minutes, or like, they're not even actual gypsies. They're just like, "Yes, we have the costume." Yeah.
Yes, and we will give you a traditional gypsy name of Andrew. It's like they couldn't think of anything. Barry the
Andy,
I don't know whether by the 1620s, I don't know whether Andrew still automatically meant a Scotsman, but I mean, it certainly did earlier on.
I just wanted to say that those gypsy characters, it's liminality, isn't it? They're the liminal people. I mean, when you slip into this fairyland sort of scenes, then the sky's the limit, isn't it? I think that's such fun. Liminal characters are the best.
Yeah, I mean, there are various elements of this which are problematic depictions of how these kind of liminal figures sort of exist, but it's so nonsensical that it's quite hard for anyone to take a sort of serious look at what this is doing culturally, because it's not, none of this is really real. Because they're almost all. I mean, I think there may technically be one or two actual.
Yeah, I wonder if
here.
Soto and Sancho are actually.
But yeah, it's almost none of these people. So yeah, it's like everybody's cosplaying. Right. Okay. Well, that's got us in the mood. Sarah.
Is Cardochia a real gypsy?
There are two or three characters who might actually be gypsies, but I'm not sure if that is one of them.
Right. Yeah. Okay.
But you would have thought if there were some real gypsies, they would spot the fake ones pretty quickly.
Unless she's lying, she's a settled young woman of property with 3 houses.
Yeah. So no.
So
that was the most demeaning deal you just made there, Aliki. I mean, I really was disappointed in you. You can have the houses, you can sing, and what the hell is that about?
What can I say? I really like him.
Yeah.
I have the effect on people.
Yeah.
Oh, Andrews, honestly.
Yeah. Okay. Let's go on. Act 4, Scene 2. Enter Fernando, Francisco, Pedro, and Lewys.
See, Don Luis, an army, the strongest army in Spain, to the full length, is stretched to pluck old Count Alvarez home from his sad banishment.
With longing eyes, my lord, I expect the man. Your lordship's pardon, some business calls me from you.
Pray thee, Don Luis, unless the occasion be too violent, stay and be merry with us. All the gypsies will be here presently.
I will attend your lordship before their sports be done.
Exit, Lewis.
Be your own carver. Not yet shake off these fetters. I see a son is heavy when a father carries him on his old heart.
Could I set up my rest that he were lost or taken prisoner, I could hold truce with sorrow. But to have him vanish, I know not how, gone none knows whither, 'tis that mads me.
You said he sent a letter.
A letter? A mere riddle. He's gone to seek his fortune in the wars. What wars have we? Suppose we had. Goes any man to the field naked, unfurnished, both arms and money?
Come, he's gone a wenching. We in our youth ran the self-same bias.
Enter Diego.
The gypsies, my lord, are come.
Are they? Let them enter.
Exit Diego.
My lord de Cortez said, for your wife and daughter, good company is good physic. Take the pains to seat yourselves in my great chamber.
And exit Pedro. Enter Alvarez, Don John, Roderigo, Antonio, Carlo, Eugenia, Pretiosa, Christiana, Sancho, and Soto.
See, they are here. What's your number?
The figure of 9 casts us all up, my lord.
9. Let me see. You are 10, sure.
Oh, that's our poet. He stands for a cipher.
Ciphers make numbers. What plays have you?
5 or 6, my lord.
It's well, so many already.
We are promised a very merry tragedy, if all hit right, of Cobby Nobby.
So, a merry tragedy. There is a way which the Italians and the French use. That is, on a word given, or some slight plot, the actors will extempore, fashion out, scenes neat and witty.
Oh, we can do that, my lord. Please you bestow the subject.
Can you? Come hither, your master poet, to save you a labor. Look you, against your coming I projected this comic passage. Your drama, that's the scene.
Aye, my lord.
I lay in our own country, Spain.
'Tis best so.
Here's a brave part for this old gypsy. Look you, the father, read the plot. This young she-gypsy, this lady. Now the son, play him yourself.
Oh, my lord, I am no player.
Pray, at this time, the plot being full, to please my noble friends, because your brains must in theirs put language, act thou the son's part. I'll reward your pains.
Protest, my lord.
Nay, shake off protesting. When I was young, sir, I have played myself.
Yourself, my lord? You were but a poor company then.
Yes, full enough, honest fellow. Will you do it?
I'll venture.
I thank you. Let this father be a don of a brave spirit. Old gypsy, observe me.
Yes, my lord.
Lay him up high, not like a pantaloon, but hotly, nobly, checking this his son, whom make a very rake hell, a debauched fellow. This point, I think, will show well.
This of the picture, it will indeed, my lord.
My lord, what part play I?
What part dost used to play?
If your lordship has ever a coxcomb, I think I could fit you.
I thank your coxcombship.
Put a coxcomb upon a lord.
There are parts to serve you all. Go, go, make ready, and call for what you want.
And exit Fernando.
Give me the plot. Our wits are put to trial. What's the son's name? Lorenzo? That's your part. Look only you to that. These I'll dispose. Old Don Avero mine. Ialdo, Lolio, 2 servants. You for them.
One of the foolish knaves give me, I'll be Hialdo.
And I, Lolio.
Is there a banquet in the play? We may call for what we will.
Yes, here is a banquet.
I'll go then and bespoke an ocean of sweetmeats, marmalade and custards.
Make haste to know what you must do.
Do I call for enough, and when my belly is full, fill my pockets?
To a banquet there must be wine. Fortune's a scurvy whore. If she make not my head sound like a rattle and my heels dance the canaries.
Oh, so. Dispatch. Whilst me employ our brains to set things off to the life.
Exeunt, and Roderigo remains.
I'll be straight with you. Why does my father put this trick on me? Spies he me through my vizard? If he does, he's not the King of Spain, and 'tis no treason. If his invention's set upon a stage, why should not I use action? A debauched fellow, a very rake hell. This reflects on me, and I'll retort it. Grown a poet, father. No matter in what strain your play must run, but I shall fit you for a roaring sun.
And exit and flourish. Okay, lots of things going on there. I do like the servants. The moment Soto and Sancho find out they're playing servants, they immediately do what all servants do, which is talk about food and turn it into a, how can we get more food out of this? Well, there's a banquet scene. If we just sit there just going for more food, we will get fed well, will we not? Yes, you will.
And wine.
All actors do. What all actors do.
Yeah, it's yeah, they're having to improvise, do an improvised situation here rather than, so it's like, Don John, you're a script writer. Oh no, you can improvise something, can't you? He's like, you've taken all the wind out of his sails. Aliki.
So that was quite delightful. It's this description of long-form improvisation from the early modern period.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah. I mean, it's exactly the kind of thing that you're getting with Commedia dell'arte and touring things on more of the continent, whereas, of course, in England, everything is controlled in theory. Of course, you can't necessarily control what the clowns are doing.
And also, if I remember correctly, Fernando knows not just that Roderigo, his son, is there, but knows about the assault that Roderigo committed.
Yes.
So what is he up to with this play?
Yes,
Okay.
He couldn't possibly be using the play as some way of advancing the plot further forward, could he?
Nobody ever does that in plays.
No,
Come on.
they don't. I'm very disappointed. I am very disappointed that we are not getting Cobby Nobby. This I think is a great tragedy. That is the greatest tragedy of the tragedy.
I'm a big fan of Cobby
Nobby.
Nobby, yes, so I'm saying, yeah, I know.
Is that there is no
One of
Cobby
my
Nobby.
favorites.
It's everything you want on a Thursday afternoon, isn't it, really?
Lois.
Sorry.
Just saying that, again, we've clearly got, this is written by the same person who wrote the earlier kind of fortune-telling scene in which Fernando realized that that was Roderigo and was quite sarcastic about him. But it can't be the same person who had that very dignified father, brokenhearted, discovering what his son had been up to. I mean, it's just a totally different character.
Oh, I don't know. It's a front. I'm sure. I think we could brazen that out.
Well, you could probably make it work. I mean, it's just, but I think it's clearly two different people anyway.
But yeah, how can you there's four of them. How are you going to disambiguate them between? So yeah, there's a lot of really, as ever. We keep getting these really nice bits, and they do sort of fit together, even though they do also sort of hit you with a sort of, that's not quite where we were a minute ago. And I like this. I keep being wrong-footed actually, because it's doing it quite skillfully. And Lois.
Yeah, I mean, in some ways, I think this is one reason why characters in plays of this period often seem so vivid, precisely because there's very little consistency in them, which makes them more like real human beings.
Right.
Oh yeah.
Eric.
I still don't get how this goes from like how he decided, well, I will kill him in play, as opposed to like, just disinheriting him and killing him, which I was hoping for. But I mean, maybe that's I'm just a very violent person deep down.
Mark.
Yeah, I mean, we were set up from the previous scene, which to Lois's point, arguably feels like it may be written by a different person, so we'll see whether they're consistent with that. But that they're not gonna go the revenge route. So it seems to me it's more like putting his son on the spot to kind of give him a scolding rather than to set up death. Although Roderigo's response, blah blah blah, if I'm gonna be on stage, why should not I use action? Doesn't necessarily sound like he's planning to like kill anyone in the play, but it doesn't. I'm not convinced that he's definitely not gonna try to do that.
Well, let's find out as we go into Act 4, Scene 3. Enter Francisco, Pedro, Fernando, Diego, Maria, and Clara.
Come, ladies, take your places. This there music, 'tis very handsome. Oh, I wish this room were fretted, but with pleasures, noble friends, as are to you my welcomes. Begin, their masters.
And a flourish within.
Presently, my lord, we want but a cold capon for a property.
Call for one. Now they begin.
Enter Sancho, the prologue.
Both short and sweet, some say is best. We will not only be sweet, but short. Take your pepper in the nose, you mar our sport.
By no means pepper.
Of your love measure us forth, but one span. We do, though not the best we can.
Exit Sancho.
A good, honest gypsy.
Possibly too honest. Enter Alvarez and Soto.
Slave, where's my son Lorenzo?
I have sought him, my lord, in all four elements. In earth, my shoes are full of gravel. In water, I drop at nose with sweating. In air, wheresoever I heard noise of fiddlers, or the wide mouths of gallon pots roaring, and in the fire, what chimney soever I saw smoking with good cheer, with my master's dinner, as I was in hope.
Not yet come home. Before on this old tree shall grow a branch so blasted, I hew it off and bury it at my foot. Didst thou inquire at my brother's?
At your sister's?
At my wife's father's?
At your uncle's mother's. No such sheep has broke through the hedge, no such calf as your son sucks or bleats on the ground.
I am unblessed to have but one son only, one staff to bear my age up, one taper left to light me to my grave, and that burns dimly that leaves me darkling hid in clouds of woe. He that should prop me is mine overthrow.
Well done, old fellow, is it not?
Oh, yes.
My lord.
Yes, my lord.
Yes, my lord. Enter Sancho.
Here comes his man, Hidalgo.
Where's the prodigal, your master, sirrah?
Eating acorns amongst swine, giraffe amongst hogs, and gnawing bones against dogs. Has lost all his money at dice, his wits with his money, and his honesty with both. For he bumfuddles me. That's a corpse. makes the drawers curvet, pitches the plate over the bar, scores up the vintner's name in a ram head, flirts his wife under the nose, and bids you, with a pox, send him more money.
Art thou one of his curs to bite me too? To nail thee to the earth were to do justice.
Enter Roderigo.
Here comes Bruce Wallace, my prodsing master. Nail me now. Who dares?
Oh, I sit like an owl in the ivy bush of a tower. Hialdo, I've drawn red wine from the vintner's own hogshead.
Here's two more. Pierce then too.
Oh, Don, whom I call father, am I thy son? If I be, flesh me with gold, fat me with silver. Had I Spain in this hand and Portugal in this, it should fly. Where's the money I sent for? I'll tickle you for a rake hill.
Not a marvedi.
Thou shalt have none of me.
Do we have a Soto?
Oh, hold his nose to the grindstone, my lord.
I shall have none.
Charge me a case of pistols. What I have built I'll ruin. Shall I suffer a slave to set his foot upon my heart? A son, a barbarous villain. Or if heaven save thee now from my justice, yet my curse pursues thee.
Hialdo, carbonado thou, the old rogue, my father.
Whilst you slice into collops the rusty gammon, his man here.
No money? And taverns stand without anon and on. Fiddlers live without scraping. Taffety girls look plump without pampering. If you will not lard me with money, give me a ship, furnish me to sea.
To have thee hanged for piracy.
Trim, trim, hangmaster, hangman.
Send me to the West Indies, buy me some office there.
To have thy throat cut for thy quarrelling.
Else send me and my ningle, Hialdo, to the wars.
A match. We'll fight dog, fight bear.
Enter Antonio.
Fernando, welcome. Clap midst your heels, and pray, my worthy friends, bestow on me their pleasant visitation.
Exit Soto.
Lorenzo, see the anger of a father. Although it be as loud and quick as thunder, yet 'tis done instantly. Cast off thy wildness. Be mine, for I to call thee home have, with my honoured friend here, Don Hernando, provided thee a wife.
A wife, huh? Is she handsome? Is she rich? Is she fair? Is she witty? Is she honest? Hang honesty. Has she a sweet face? Cherry cheek, strawberry lip, white skin, dainty eye, pretty foot, delicate legs. There's a girl now.
It's a creature both for birth and fortunes, and for most excellent graces of the mind. You like her in Spain.
Now, when shall I see her? Now, father, pray take your curse off.
I do. The lady lives from Madrid, very near 14 leagues, but thou shalt see her picture.
Oh, that. Most ladies in these days are but very fine pictures.
Enter Carlo, Don John, Eugenia, Pretiosa, Christiana, Sancho, and Soto.
Ladies, to you first welcome. My lords Alonso and your worthy Marquis, thanks for these honours. Away you, to the cause now of this meeting. My son Lorenzo, whose wildness you all know comes now to the law, sits gently, has called home his wandering thoughts, and now will marry.
A good wife fate send him.
One staid may settle him.
Fly to the mark, sir. Show me the wench, or her face, or anything I may note is a woman fit for me.
She is not here herself, but here's her picture.
Alvarez shows a picture.
My Lord de Carcom will pray observe this.
I do attentively. Don Pedro, mark it.
Enter Soto.
If you had done your part, yonder's a wench would have had a bout with you.
Exit Soto.
Me?
Exit John.
A wench?
Exit Diego.
Why stand you staring at it? How do you like her?
Are you in earnest?
Yes, sir, in earnest.
I'm not so hungry after flesh to make the devil a cuckold.
Look not on the face, but on the goodness that dwells within her.
Set fire on the tenement.
She's rich, nobly descended.
Did ever nobility look so scurvily?
I am sunk in fortunes. She may raise us both.
Sink. Let her to her grannam. Marry a witch? Have you fetched a wife for me out of Lapland? An old midwife in a velvet hat were a goddess to this. That a red lip?
There's a red nose.
That a yellow hair?
Why, her teeth may be yellow.
Where's the full eye?
She has full blabber cheeks.
Set up thy rest. Her marriest thou, or none?
None, then. Were all the water in the world one sea, all kingdoms one mountain, I would climb on all four up to the top of that hill and headlong hurl myself into that abyss of waves, ere I would touch the skin of such rough Aberdeen, for the breath of her picture stinks hither.
There's a noise within. Enter Don John, Diego, Cardochia, Sancho, and Soto in a hurry.
What tumult's this?
Murder! 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 One of our gypsies is in danger of hanging. Hanging!
Who is hurt?
'Tis I, my lord, stabbed by this gypsy.
He struck me first, and I'll not take a blow from any Spaniard breathing.
Are you so brave?
Break up your play. Lock all the doors.
I thank my lord.
Have him to a surgeon. How fell they out?
Servants remove Diego.
Oh, my good lord. These gypsies, when they lodged at my house, I had a jewel from my pocket stolen by this villain.
'Tis most false, my lords. Her own hands gave it me.
She that calls him villain, or says he stole.
Hoy day, we hear you're scolding.
And the hurt gentleman finding it in his bosom, for that he stabbed him.
Hence with all the gypsies.
Ruffians and thieves, to prison with them all.
My lord, we'll leave engagements in plate and money for all our safe forthcomings. Punish not all for one's offence. We'll prove ourselves no thieves.
Oh, Soto, I make buttons.
Would I could make some and leave this trade.
Iron him then. Let the rest go free. But stir not 1 foot out of Madrid. Bring you in your witness.
Prick him with a pin or pinch him by the elbow, anything.
My lord Don Pedro, I am your ward. We have spent a little money to get a horrible deal of wit, and now I am weary of it.
The ways turned jugglers, fortune tellers.
No great fortunes.
To prison with them both. A gentleman play the ass.
If all gentlemen that play the ass should to prison, you must widen the jails. Come, Soto, I scorn to beg, and set thy foot to mine and kick at shackles.
So, away with them.
Send all our company after, and we'll play there, and be as merry as you here.
exit John in custody. We're just going to pause there. It's a very long scene. There's a chunkette of the scene to go, but I think we'll just pause here to just take in. Okay, so we have this play that's going on, of which actually, to be honest, was mostly incomprehensible. I mean, it's like it's supposed to be serving a plot function, but it's actually so opaque a lot of the time. I wasn't sure what the hell was going on. But I'm sure it actually tidied up and put on a bit of rehearsal. It'll all make perfect sense. But yeah, but that's not to say that, again, there's lots of really fun stuff in this, and there's lots going on. And of course, then something happens off stage and breaks up the fun because of the hair that was started in the previous scene, as it led to assault and affray and all the rest of it. And they're all getting a group punishment because you can't trust gypsies, is what it's saying there, or at least is the attitude of the times, and that's not unexpected in many ways. Aliki, then Mark.
Okay, so I think I got the play within the play, more or less. There's a wastrel son. He's been called home from the tavern. There are smart-mouthed servants making jokes about that. He comes in, demands money from his father in very rude terms, seems to be kind of ready to hold him up for it. And for reasons I didn't quite get, he is somehow reformed. You can't have any money. You will have to marry instead. So then they bring him the portrait, and there's all the business about being rude about the portrait of the woman, which I don't know. I think it's hugely enjoyable. And yes, now we finally know what Cardochia was up to, giving him that jewel. She was framing him for theft of her jewel so that she could have him killed, I guess, for not wanting to marry her.
Yeah, or at least severely inconvenienced in this fashion. She was sort of talking about, I don't really want him dead, but, I want revenge on some level. Mark, then Lois.
Yeah, so before this, like in the scene before this one, Alvarez was kind of looking at the plot, and he was talking about, like, okay, I'm playing old Don Avero. But doesn't say the first name. And then it's not until we're in the play within a play that Antonio's character comes in and says, Fernando. So Fernando, outside of this play within a play, giving the plot that like is like very clearly like, oh, this is about me and my son, and I'm going to put my son in the role, and then there's going to be the father figure. He has named the father Fernando. Like, how much more on the nose can you get? Fernando.
Lois?
Yeah, I think probably Fernando's plan, which gets interrupted, is that he might be planning actually to get his son in the play to marry Clara and then discover that he has married her. But there's this weird stuff in between where presumably this is a portrait of someone really hideous. That Roderigo, I mean, maybe the idea is, yes, we found a wife for you. Look at her. Oh my God, she's terrible. And then, oh, she's not so bad after all. I'll marry this one. Maybe that's the idea. I don't know, but it's clear that there's something like that going on.
Susan.
Do you think that, all these boys getting together to write this play, 4 other little boys, so we've got bumfuddles. I consider that one of the greatest words I've ever said.
I think it's bumfiddles, isn't it?
Ever. In 44 years on the stage, darling. Bumfuddles. Marvellous. And then Buse phallus. You can see these boys. They're all titty ye not. Are they not?
Is this a children's company play?
I don't think this is a children's
well, it
company,
feels like that, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does actually. With all the singing as
great
well.
fun.
I was thinking that yesterday. With
So
all those
many
songs.
parts. That,
Yeah.
So's Blackadder. So's a lot of those things, aren't they?
Yeah. Any more before we finish the scene? Eric.
I was trying not to mention Blackadder, but he just because like I mentioned it in other episodes before, but he does appear in Gypsies with Gypsies or some I think it's like Mormons or something like that. He tries to discredit his older brother by sort of, I don't know, just some weird stuff. Yeah. By a play. and having murdered by accident. Oops. He doesn't want to murder him, but yeah, yeah.
But Eric, you have to remember that all those people were reading English at Oxford, all that Richard Curtis, Rowan, everybody that were, and they might have read some of these plays and got the ideas. I don't know.
Right. Any more for any more? Okay, well, let's finish the scene. Exit John in custody. Cardochia and all the gypsies except Roderigo.
Our comedy turned tragical. Please you lords walk. This actor here and I must change a word, and I come to you.
Well, my lord, your pleasure.
And exit all the lords, leaving Fernando and Roderigo alone.
Why couldst thou think in any base disguise to blind my sight? Fathers have eagle eyes. But pray, sir, why was this done? Why, when I thought you fast locked in Salamanca at your study, leaped you into a gypsy?
Sir, with your pardon, I shall, at fit time, to you show cause for all.
Meantime, sir, you have got a trade to live by. Best to turn player, an excellent ruffian, ha. But no, sir, when I had found you out, I gave you this project of set purpose. 'Tis all myself. What the old gypsy spake must be my language. Nothing are left me but my offices, and thin-faced honor, and this very creature, but you so scorned, must raise me by your marrying her.
You would not build your glory on my ruins.
The rascal has belied the lady. She is not half so bad. All's one. She's rich.
Oh, will you see the joys of my full youth? To dunghill muck? Seek out some wretch's daughter whose soul is lost for gold, then? You are more noble than to have your son, the top branch of your house, grow in a heap of rubbish. I must marry a thing I shall be ashamed to own, ashamed to bring her before a sunbeam.
I cannot help it, sir. Resolve upon it and do it.
And do it and die. Is there no face in Spain for you to pick out but one to fright me? When you sat the play here, there was a beauty, to be lord of which I would against an army throw defiance.
She? Alas.
How? At every hair of hers there hangs a very angel. This? I'm ready to drop down looking at it. Sir, I beseech you, bury me in this earth, on which I am humbled.
Roderigo kneels.
To beg your blessing on me, for a gypsy rather than... Oh, I know not what to term it. Pray, what is that young pensive piece of beauty? Your voice for her, I eyed her all the scene.
I saw you did.
I thought 'twas a sweet creature.
Well, though my present state stands now on ice, I'll let it crack and fall rather than bar thee of thy content. This lady shall go by them.
Hang, let her there or anywhere.
That young Lannard, whom you have such a mind to, if you can whistle her to come to first, make trial, play the young falconer. I will nor mar your marriage, nor yet make beauty no wealth, wealth ugliness, which you will take.
I thank you, sir.
Exit Fernando.
Put on your mask, good madam. The sun will spoil your face else.
And exit Roderigo, remaining the charmer as ever. I mean, really, I'm really struggling to believe even in the early modern period anyone is supposed to like this guy because he's just what a git. All the way through. I mean, it really does depend on what the picture looks like. I suppose you could argue that he's what. So he might have some justification, but
no, I think it probably is hideous.
Yeah, but it's even so, it's but we did you not think I'd recognize you? What the hell are you doing? So we've got this little unit of action. Any thoughts on this before we dive into Act 5 to find out where we're going? Mark?
I was struggling to tell exactly where their conversation went. It sounded like Fernando was saying, "Oh, that painting is for real. Like, I want you to marry the person in that painting."
Mm.
But then by the end, Roderigo was talking about someone else. Maybe it was Clara that he didn't realize was Clara, saying, "Oh, she was pretty. I would like to be with her." Is that what was happening?
Well, I
Yeah.
don't know whether it was her at that point or whether it was we're going to have a substitution thing with Pretiosa because everybody likes Pretiosa. So
Yeah.
I'm assuming maybe he's thinking that because surely if he's looking at the person he knows, then he knows, you know, he has met her, so it's difficult for that to make sense. So I was
Unless she's
assuming
in
there's a substitution thing.
disguise.
He was drunk. It was dark. He saw
Dark.
the person.
But he's been hanging out with the gypsies, of which Pretiosa is one. So it would be weird that he's like, "Oh, and who was that young person?" Because like he's been right, or is he with a totally different group of? No, I think he's been with her.
Yeah.
I think it must be somebody in the audience. Didn't he say something like that?
I think so.
Yeah, I think it's Clara.
I think it's his reaction is, Clara, I didn't recognise you with your clothes on.
Yeah. I mean, it's it just feels like that's a bit of a plot hole if that's how it's working, because I find that
when
that
you
difficult.
sat the play here, there was a beauty. So he's definitely talking about somebody in the audience.
Maybe she's in disguise.
Well, she might have she couldn't have a veil, or he wouldn't know.
That's the problem we see with the logic of that.
A wig, a different wig.
Yeah. But
Puts
so
on
often,
a pair of glasses, totally different.
That's right.
Yeah.
Okay, well, let's see where this goes then in Act 5. Act 5, Scene 1. Enter Fernando, Francisco, Pedro, Roderigo, Clara, Maria, as from church over the stage. They pass behind the arras, except for Fernando, who stays with Roderigo.
Thou hast now the wife of thy desires.
Sir, I have, and in her every blessing that makes life loath to be parted with.
Noble she is and fair, has to enrich her blood and beauty plenty of wit, discourse, behavior, carriage.
I owe you duty for a double birth, being in this happiness begot again, without which I had been a man of wretchedness.
Then henceforth, boy, learn to obey thy fate. 'Tis fallen upon thee, know it, and embrace it. Thy wife's a wanton.
A wanton?
Examine through the progress of thy youth what capital sins, what great one 'tis, for 'tis a great one that's committed.
I, a great one?
Else heaven is not so wrathful to pour on thee a misery so full of bitterness. I am thy father, think on it, and be just. Come, do not dally.
Pray, my lord.
Fool, 'twere impossible that justice should rain down in such a frightful horror without cause. Sir, I will know it. Rather blush thou didst an act thou darest not name than that it has a name to be known by.
Turn from me then, and as my guilt sighs out this monster, rape, oh, do not lend an ear.
Rape? Fearful.
Hence springs my due reward.
Thou art none of mine, or if thou beest, thou dost belie the stamp of thy nativity.
Forgive me.
Had she, poor wronged soul, whoever she was, no friend, nor father to revenge? Had she no tongue to roar her injuries?
Alas, I know her not.
Peace, thou wilt blaze a sin beyond all precedent. Young man, thou shouldst have married her. The devil of lust that riots in thy eye should there have full love and pity, not on this stranger whom thou dost doted on.
Oh, had I married her, I had been then the happiest man alive.
Enter Clara, Maria, and Pedro from behind the arras.
As I the happiest woman, being married. Look on me, sir.
You shall not find a change so full of fears as your most noble father in his wise trial urged.
Who's Maria? Have I not given one out? I haven't. Hopefully Mariah doesn't say a lot. Indeed you shall not. The forfeit of her shame shall be her pawn.
Why, pray do you mock my sorrows? Now, oh now, my horrors flew about me.
No, thy comforts, thy blessings, Roderigo.
By this crucifix you may remember me.
Clara shows the crucifix.
Ah, art thou that lady wronged?
I was, but now am righted in noble satisfaction.
How can I turn my eyes and not behold on every side my shame?
No more hereafter. We shall have time to talk at large of all. Love her that's now thine own. Do, Roderigo. She's far from what I charactered.
My care shall live about me to deserve your love.
Excellent Clara, fathers both, and mother, I will redeem my fault.
Our blessings dwell on ye.
Enter Lewis and Francisco.
Married to Roderigo.
Judge yourself. See where they are.
Exit Francisco.
Is this your husband, lady?
He is, sir. Heaven's great hand on that record. 4 points the equal union of all hearts, long since decreed. What this day hath been perfected.
'Tis well then. I am free, it seems.
Make smooth, my lord, those clouds on which your brow deliver emblems of storm. I will, as far as honor may privilege, deserve a noble friendship from you. Deserve a noble friendship, as you from me deserve a worthy memory.
Your husband has proved himself a friend, trusty and tried. He's welcome, I may say, from the university.
To a new school of happy knowledge, Lewis.
Sir, I'm not so poor to put this injury up. The best blood flows within you is the price.
Lewis, for this time calm your anger, and if I do not give you noble satisfaction, call me to what account you please.
So I come for justice to ye, and you shall grant it.
Shall and will.
With speed, too. My poor friend bleeds the whiles.
You shall yourself, before we part, receive the satisfaction you come for. Who attends?
My lord?
The prisoner.
He attends your lordship's pleasure.
And enter Pretiosa, Eugenia, and Alvarez.
What would this girl? No tricks. Get you to your cabin, huswife. We have no ear for ballads.
Take her away.
Oh, a wondrous lively creature.
Noble gentlemen, if a poor maid's, gypsy virgin's tears may soften the hard edge of angry justice, then grant me gracious hearing, as you are merciful. I beg my husband's life.
Thy husband's, little one.
Gentle sir, our plighted troths are chronicled in that white book above, which notes the secrets of every thought and heart. He is my husband, I his wife.
Rather his whore.
Now trust me, you are no good man to say so. I am honest. Deed law I am. Poor soul that deserves not such a bad word. Were you a better man than you are? You do me wrong.
The toy grows angry.
And it becomes her sweetly. Troth, my lord, I pity her.
I thank you, sir.
Your husband, you'll say, is no thief.
Upon my conscience he is not.
Dares not strike a man?
Unworthily he dares not, but if trod upon, a worm will turn again.
That turning turns your worm off from the ladder, minion.
Sir, I hope you are not his judge. You are too young, too choleric, too passionate. The price of life or death requires a much more grave consideration than your years warrant. They sit like gods upon whose head the reverend badge of time hath sealed the proof of wisdom. To these oracles of riper judgment, lower in my heart than on my knees I offer up my suit, my lawful suit, which begs they would be gentle to their own fames, their own immortal stories. Oh, do not think, my lords, compassion thrown on a base low estate, on humble people, less meritorious than if you had favored the faults of great men. And indeed, great men have oftentimes great faults. He whom I plead for is free. The soul of innocence itself is not more white. Will you pity him? I see it is in your eyes. 'Tis a sweet sunbeam. Let it shine out. And to adorn your praise, the prayers of the poor shall crown your days. And theirs are something hard.
Beshrew the girl, she has almost melted me to tears.
Hence, trifler, call in my friends. What hope of ease?
Enter Don John, Diego, and Cardochia.
Oh, good hope, but still I smart. The worst is in my pain.
The price is high, shall buy thy vengeance. To receive a wound by a base villain's hand, it mads me.
I did not realize that was in this scene. Men subject to the extremity of law should carry peace about them to their graves. Else were you nobler than the blood you boast of. Could any way my lord derive you? No, I would return sharp answer to your slanders, but it suffices I am none of aught your rage misterms me.
None of them, no rascal,
No rascal?
nor no thief.
Ask her, that's my accuser. Could your eyes pierce through the secrets of her foul desires? You might, without a partial judgment, look into a woman's lust and malice.
My good lords, what I have articled against this fellow I justify for truth.
Oh, on then, no more. This being true, she says, I have deserved to die.
We set not here to bandy words, but minister law, and that condemns thee for theft unto the gallows.
Oh, my misery! Are you all marble-breasted? Are your bosoms hooped round with steel to cast away a man? More worthy life and honours than 1,000 of such as only pray unto the shadow of abuse and greatness.
'Tis in vain to storm, my fate here is determined.
Lost creature, art thou grown dull too? Is my love so cheap that thou court'st thy destruction, 'cause I love thee? My lords, speak, Andrew. Prithee now, be not so cruel to thyself and me. One word of thine will do it.
Away with him. Tomorrow is his day of execution.
Even when you will.
Stay, man, thou shalt not go. Here are some women yet. Sweet madam, speak. You, lady, you methinks should have some feeling of tenderness. You may be touched as I am. Troth, were it your cause, I'd weep with you, and join in earnest suit for one you held so dear.
My lord, pray speak on his behalf.
I would, but dare not. 'Tis a fault so clear and manifest.
Back with him to his dungeon.
Heaven can tell, I sorrow not to die, but to leave her, who, while as I live, is my life's comforter.
Exit Don John, guarded.
Now shall I be revenged.
Exit Cardochia.
Oh, unhappy.
See, the girl falls. Someone look to her.
Alas, poor maid.
Pretiosa, it does recover, mine honourable lord.
In vain, what is it?
Be pleased to give me private audience. I will discover something shall advantage the noblest of this land.
Well, I will hear thee. Bring in the girl.
And everybody exits, apart from Lewis and Alvarez.
Aught with me? What is't? I care not for thy company, old ruffian. Rascal, art impudent?
To beg your service.
Hang yourself.
By your father's soul, sir, hear me.
Dispatch!
First, promise me you will get reprieve for the condemned man, and by my art I'll make you master of what your heart on earth can wish for or desire.
Thou liest. Thou canst not.
Try me.
Do that, and then, as I am noble, will not only give thy friend his life, but royally reward thee. Love thee ever.
I take your word. What would you?
If thou mock'st me, 'twere better thou wert damned.
Sir, I am resolute.
Resolve me then. Whether the Count Alvarez, who slew my father, be alive or dead.
Is this the mighty matter? The Count lives.
How?
The Count lives.
Oh, fate, aye. Now tell me where, and be my better genius.
I can do it. In Spain he lives. More, not far from Madrid, but in disguise, much altered.
Oh, wonderful scholar, miracle of artist, Alvarez living, and near Madrid too. Now for heaven's sake, where? That's all, and I am thine.
Walk off, my lord, to the next field. You shall know all.
Apace then, I listen to you with a greedy ear. The miserable and the fortunate are alike in this. They cannot change their fate.
Exit at one door. ... Okay, so we hit the expected problem, which is the resolution of that first plot line, which is you get to marry the man who raped you, and therefore everything's fine. And everyone's standing there joking away and going, ha ha ha, it's all sorted now, and it's it's like, yeah, that's fine. I mean, it's what was sort of, yeah, I'm disappointed that it wasn't done slightly more with a little more other things going on there, rather than just sort of, and everyone's sort of cheerful and let's get on to move on to the next plot line, which is what's going on with Don John and the resolution of that. And it's like, Lynn.
I mean, and Clara had that after the assault scene where she tells him, whether she extracts a promise from him to be faithful to his wife if he ever gets married, and this scene where she reveals to his father what's happened, and then she has nothing to say in the scene where she watches the play within a play, and then he's like, well, you should put your mask on, you'll get sunburned, and she has nothing to say, and then like the next scene they come on and they've been married. Like, there's no wooing scene, which could have been really interesting. Him not knowing who she is and she knowing who he is. I mean, that could have been a really interesting scene, but they just didn't write it. And so it's just like, Clara was such an interesting character, and the disappointment of the resolution of her plot is sort of reinforced by the fact that she has so little to do in this at this point.
Well, I mean, there's still a few pages to go. Maybe it's all a lie, but I suspect it's not. Aliki, then Lois.
Well, one of the things about this play is that there's clearly a lot of business that hasn't been signaled. And I think there's a lot you could do with Clara still in these scenes if you were to stage it. And I increasingly do, despite this very problematic resolution. I think it would be enormously interesting to workshop and come up with something. And I think you could do something that would make us as an audience satisfied, not happy with the resolution, because it's not a good resolution. I'm not convinced that it was for them either. It certainly isn't for us.
Lois.
Yeah, well, minor thing, but that bit about, I think, put your mask on or you get sunburned, I think he's addressing that to the picture. I mean, it's a kind of joke about this hideous woman, he obviously thinks she can't possibly look any worse than she does. This is the Clara plot isn't completely resolved because Lewis is actually furious at Roderigo. I mean, he thought he was engaged to Clara, and now he finds that Roderigo has married her, and no one's said anything to him. And it looks as if they're still going to have some kind of confrontation.
Yes, I mean, that whole thing sort of should have been rumbling on for ages, and it's sort of been dropped to one side of the thing. I think this is where we're starting to feel much more overtly the problem of actually several people writing a play at the same time. That some people actually, who's been given this element of the play, actually are nowhere near as engaged with Clara as they were in those earlier scenes. Eric, then Sarah.
Well, also, I think it was, I can't remember if it was Act 1 or Act 2, but Lewis does say that, well, I love her, but I kind of like, she's basically a distraction, kind of. He does say that, like, distraction in a saint, vengeance or love. So basically, he has to choose between revenging his father or loving Clara at some point. Basically, that's how I read it, how I understood it. I think it was Act 1 or something. Yeah, so basically, since he can't marry Clara, he will avenge himself on Alvarez, which is convenient because the guy is right there.
Yes, get on with it. Sarah.
No, I was just going to say that not only is Clara not doing anything anymore, but she's not articulate in the way that she was, which is really disappointing. And I know this is probably because this scene's been written by a different playwright, but she was so eloquent, she was so articulate, and even if you did do things with her where she was doing things, silently, I just think that it's such a letdown, because that scene with Fernando was just incredible yesterday. And not only is she not really speaking, but when she does speak, she speaks in these platitudes. She speaks in these sort of, I am now satisfied, and because I am married, and it's all fine now. And then
we can still be friends, and
exactly. And Lewis turns up, and I mean, she did actually say in an earlier scene to Lewis, "If I could marry anyone, you are the man I would marry." And she says, but she keeps him at a distance because she's been raped, she feels she can't marry him because she's been, defiled. But she really did. It did seem as though she did love Lewis, and now it's all these kinds of platitudes, and it's like, oh yes, let's be friends because now I am married and I have a husband and it's all fine, and it's like, oh my God, could you give this character more of a sort of 360 turnaround? I mean, it's ridiculous. She's totally changed.
And it's also the fact that, in the same scene, you've got Pretiosa, who again gets suddenly has a sort of uptick in her writing. So it's not like the author couldn't do it, whichever one it was.
We can only have one articulate woman at a time, apparently.
They've hit the baton's been passed, and only one person can hold the articulacy baton, and they move on. It's sort of the inverse of the idiot ball. Kyle, then Lois.
I'm good. I'm sorry. I think you guys have already said some of the things I was going to say.
Cool. Lois.
Yeah, well, I was going to comment, Pretiosa. I mean, I find her rather boring in this because she goes on and on being the sweet, pathetic innocent. But this is it's a type of character that you see an awful lot in plays of this period. And they must have had a small boy who was really good at it because he's given this kind of attention all through the play and finally gets to do his big scene here. But that whole Don John plot is awful. I mean, the Cardochia sudden lust for him, her decision to take revenge, it all happens so fast, and it's just so obviously a kind of trumped up situation.
Yeah, it comes from nowhere, and it's like it would be a perfectly good plot if you spent a bit of time doing it, and this play doesn't. It just sort of crowbars it in, and it's like, well, the shape of it's fine, the plot beats are fine, there's nothing wrong with it in that sense. It's just
kind of doesn't belong here, right?
It doesn't belong here, or it just needs another 10-15 minutes in terms of stage time, but they haven't given it for that. Eric.
Well, about the Clara bit, I guess like I was kind of disappointed, but then there's a part of me going like, realistically speaking, she doesn't have a lot of options. Like as a woman who, I mean, like sort of even if she's intelligent, educated, so on and so forth, marrying her off is kind of the safest, I guess. So she'd have to play along to a degree, even if she doesn't like the guy.
Yes, but in plays we have things called asides. We can articulate her actual feeling.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with those being her public speech. Kyle.
I was just thinking, it's like I wonder if there's some irony in like the way that these characters are being represented, because I just done "'Tis Pity" and that ending where the cardinal is calling her a whore and saying "'Tis pity she's a whore," and then taking all the gold for the church. Mm-hmm. It really feels like it's like criticizing the kind of misogyny that we're seeing. So maybe some of that is going on here.
If it is what's going on here, they're not signposting it very very much. Anyway, let us get into the closing moments. Lewis and Alvarez exited in one door, and a slightly clunky bit of stage business. They Act 5, Scene 2, enter presently at the other. They've just run round the back of the stage and come back on through the other door.
Good. You would fain kill him and revenge your father's death?
I would.
Bravely or securely?
Not basely for the world.
We are secure.
2 swords.
Young Lewis, 2 more trusty blades than these Spain has not in her army, and with these Alvarez slew thy father. And this other was that the King of France wore when great Charles in a set battle took him prisoner. Both I resign to thee.
This is a new mystery.
Now, see this naked bosom. Turn the points of either on this bulwark, if thou covetest out of a sprightly youth and manly thirst of vengeance blood. If blood be thy ambition, then call to mind the fatal blow that struck de Castor, thy brave father, to his grave. Remember who it was that gave that blow, his enemy Alvarez. Hear, and be sudden. Behold Alvarez.
Death, I'm deluded.
Thou art incredulous, as fate is certain. I am the man.
Thou, that butcher.
Tremble not, young man. And trust me, I have wept religiously to wash off from my conscience the stain of my offence. 12 years and more, like to a restless pilgrim, I have run from foreign lands to find out death. I am weary of my life. Give me a sword, that thou mayst know with what a perfect zeal I honour old de Castor's memory. I'll fight with thee. I would not have thy hand dipped in a wilful murder. I could wish for 1 hour's space. I could pluck back from time but 30 of my years, that in my fall thou mightst deserve report. Now, if thou conquerest, thou canst not triumph. I am half dead already, yet I'll not start afoot.
Breathes there a spirit in such a heap of rage?
Oh, that I had a son of equal growth with thee, to tug for reputation. By thy father's ashes I would not kill thee for another Spain. Yet now I'll do my best, thou art amazed. Come on.
12 tedious winters' banishment. 'Twas a long time.
Could they redeem thy father? Would every age had been 12 ages, Lewis, and I for penance every age a dying. But 'tis too late to wish.
I am o'ercome. Your nobleness hath conquered me. Here ends all strife between our families, and henceforth acknowledge me yours for yours.
Oh, thou revivest fresh horrors to my fact, for in thy gentleness I see my sin anew.
Our peace is made. Your life shall be my care. 'Twill be glad news to all our noble friends.
Since heaven will have it so, I thank thee, glorious majesty, my son, for I will call thee ere the next morrow. Salute the world, thou shalt know stranger mysteries.
I have enough to feed on. Sir, I'll follow ye.
And they exit. Well, this is a nice uncompromised scene of reconciliation and reveal, and yeah, I quite enjoyed that. That was quite fun. I felt it's quite uncomplicated, and there's a risk of it drifting into bathos rather than pathos. But I think with a bit of rehearsal, you can make that land really nicely. It's but again, it does feel quite different tonally from the other stuff, and it's. Whereas earlier I felt things were tonally maybe shifting around a bit, but they didn't feel like they were from different plays. This is now starting to feel like it's actually from a different play, in that sense. Alan and Kyle.
Yeah, I'm just wondering whether what we've got in part is a compilation of highlights. We've had a number of scenes which don't seem to have an awful lot of or have minimal connective tissue, but look like they are almost set pieces taken from somewhere else. And certainly the sequences which have involved the gypsy encampment never knowingly underacted. So I'm just wondering whether there was a compilation, a big show-off element to this.
I mean, I don't think it is in the way you mean. I think there is. I mean, certainly there's lots of stuff seen elsewhere and has been put together. In this sense, we're at this age of where everything's sort of been done before in terms of plays. They're turning over a lot of plays very quickly, and so yeah, all of these elements are there. I mean, all the plot elements are there. They've obviously sat down and plotted this thing out, and then they've seen opportunities to throw different elements at it. And I mean, so many of these plays are doing this kind of job of work of going in different directions to give you a tonally different play, because those effects are fun and interesting. I think the big problem has always been for us is that the stakes are started so high and in a way that the rest of the play doesn't quite live up to a lot of the time, except occasionally when it does. It's like the stakes for this scene haven't been set high enough in advance, because everyone who in theory wants revenge keeps sort of wandering around going, actually, I'm not that fussed. Shall I bother with it? Oh, you've wronged me. Oh, I'm very cross. And it doesn't feel like anyone's really going for anyone else, except when occasionally they do. And it feels half-hearted in that sense. Kyle.
Yeah, I was going to say this, similar to what you're saying. It really feels like the generic conventions of the romance. Like they're just checking the boxes. Missing person, reunion, reconciliation, just all those, what's the other one that you often see? Forgiveness, right? And the reconciliation, but that restoration and reunion that feels forced in a lot of ways, is kind of like jumps out at you.
But they haven't earned it. That's
right.
My problem. It's like it's there, and it's as you say, it's the tick box, but not the journey. I don't feel there's journeying from these characters across time. It's like it's trying to find a through line for Lewis. I can't really find a proper through line for that character, because he just sort of bimbles about and from one place to another. I'll go to Eric, then to Mark.
Well, it's sort of like, I think it was Bess the Fair Maid. I can't remember which direction of the compass she was going, but anyway, where she basically traveled across the world to find her love and became like a pirate queen at some point or another. And we were all kind of disappointed that she found him, because he was a bit like he was kind of crap. I mean, he basically got captured and then just kind of went, oh my love, and then she went back to him and became like a sort of, was transformed into a very demure housewife type of character. Not without actually, I mean, okay, there's the sort of plot of they escape the Sultan and so on and so forth, but I mean, that's irrelevant. It's
Yes, so yes, it's like, was your journey really necessary? The journey is more important than the destination in that case. Mark.
But yeah, Rob mentioned, the like trying to find a through line for Lewis. Yeah, I was mentioning in the chat, I was like, man, on a cold read, I'm really struggling to figure out how Lewis feels about anything until like the next speech after he says it. And yeah, like in this most recent little scene, Lewis, like in the middle of it, between him saying, "Thou that butcher," and him kind of saying like, "Oh, you have been banished for a long time," and then like, "Oh man, how about you're my dad now?" There's just one line of, "Breathes there a spirit in such a heap of rage?" And yeah, I've still been trying to figure out like, what is that line do? Like, where is that landing in Lewis's journey of deciding to forgive him? Who's got the heap of rage, and what does it mean for there to be a spirit? Yeah, that's just one example, but just throughout, like, this would require some serious kind of like table work and like figuring out where Lewis's journey is for an actual production.
We will need to finish the actual play in a moment, but I'll go to Susan and then Lois, and then we'll move on.
Well, I just wondered if it might be, lots of actors remembering their favorite bits. I mean, some people are better at doing those scenes, and then it's all got a bit cobbled together.
I think maybe there's also an element of just how many actors in the company, because there seems to be an awful lot of people who are about, and it seems slightly more than normal in terms of the way the play is structured. So I wonder if, maybe there's just this like, well, these sharers need something, and then, well, we've got these other guys. I'm not sure how that's coming out. Lois, and then we must move on.
It could happen. I mean, occasionally you did get two companies merging for one play, I think. So perhaps that's partly behind it. On the other hand, it looks to me as if Lewis is combining two characters, really. I mean, he's in this revenge plot, and then he's also, involved with
The Jilted Lover, yeah.
the Clara plot. Not only that, but I mean, in the previous scene, he was being totally obnoxious. I guess it because Diego is his friend, isn't he? And he's just furious at John for having wounded Diego. And of course, he doesn't know who John is, apparently. Nobody does. He's going to be revealed to be somebody, presumably. And he's, and then he's just yelling at everybody and calling Pretiosa a whore, which, there's no grounds for at all. He's behaving a complete bastard, in fact. And it's not at all like the guy we saw earlier. I think he's just having to fit too many different slots in the play.
Okay, Act 5, Scene 3. It's all going to be resolved satisfactorily, and we're all going to be walking out humming and singing the scenery. Enter Eugenia, Fernando, and Pretiosa.
Don John, son, to the Count of Carcomo. Woman, take heed, thou trifle not.
Is this, my lord, so strange?
Beauty in youth and wit, to set it forth, I see transforms the best into what shape love fancies.
Will you yet give me my husband's life?
Why, little one, he is not married to thee.
In his faith he is, and faith and troth, I hope bind faster than any other ceremonies can. Do they not, pray my lord?
Yes, where the parties pledged are not too unequal in degree, as he and thou art.
This is new divinity.
My lord, behold this child well in her face. You may observe by curious insight something more than belongs to every common person.
True, 'tis a pretty child.
The glass of misery is after many a change of desperate fortune at length run out. You had a daughter called Constanza?
Ha!
A sister, Guamara, wife to the Count Alvarez.
Peace, oh peace.
And to that sister's charge you did commit your infant daughter, in whose birth your wife, her mother, died.
Woman, thou art too cruel.
What do you mean, Granam? Alas, the nobleman grows angry.
Not I, indeed I do not. But why do you use me thus?
Your child and sister, as you supposed, were drowned.
Drowned, talking creature, supposed.
They live, Fernando, from my hand. Thy sister's hand receive thine own Constanza, sweetest, best child living.
Me.
Torment me on, yet more yet, and spare not. My heart is now a breaking, now.
Oh, brother, am I so far removed off from your memory as that you will not know me? I expected another welcome home. Look, on this casket.
A casket?
The legacy your lady left her daughter, when to her son she gave her crucifix.
Right. I know you now.
In all my sorrows, my comfort has been here. She should be yours. Constanza, kneel, sweet child, to thy old father.
How, my father?
Pretiosa kneels.
Let not extremity of joys ravish life from me. Too soon, heaven, I beseech thee. Thou art my sister, Guayamara. How have mine eyes been darkened all this while? 'Tis she.
'Tis, brother, and this Constanza, now no more a stranger, no Pretiosa henceforth.
My soul's treasure, live to an age of goodness, and so thrive in all thy ways that thou mayest die to live.
But must I call you father?
Thou wilt rob me else of that felicity for whose sake only I am ambitious of being young again. Rise, mine own Constanza.
'Tis a new name, but 'tis a pretty one. I may be bold to make a suit to ye.
Anything.
Oh, father, and if you be my father, think upon Don John, my husband. Without him, alas, I can be nothing.
As I without thee, let me alone, Constanza. Tell me, live yet, Alvarez?
In your house?
Enough, cloy me not. Let me by degrees digest my joys. Within my lord's Francisco, Pedro.
Enter Francisco, Pedro, Mariah, Roderigo, Clara.
Come all at once, I have a world within me. I am not mortal, sure. I am not mortal, my honorable lord. Partake my blessings, Count Alvarez lives here in my house. Your son, my lord Francisco John, is the condemned man falsely accused of theft. This, my lord Pedro, is my sister Guayamara. Madam, this Constanza, mine own child, and I am a wondrous merry man without. Oh, I think I'm reading asides. I keep reading asides, right? It's
That's
weird.
the punctuation. It's terrible.
Without the prisoner? I don't know. It's...
Yes, calling without the prisoner.
Yeah, you there. Yeah.
Enter Alvarez, Lewis, Don John, Diego, Sancho, Soto, and Cardochia. Everyone's coming on.
Here, free and acquitted, by her whose folly drew her to this error, and she for satisfaction is assured, my wronged friend.
I crave your pardons. He whose I am speaks for me.
We both beg it.
Excellent. Admirable. My dear brother.
Never a happy man till now. Young Lewis and I are reconciled.
Forever faithfully, religiously.
My noble
Lord,
Lord, most welcome.
To all my heart pays what it owes. Due thanks, most brave youth, to thee.
I all this while stand but a looker on, and though my father may justly tax the violence of my passions, yet if this lady of my life must be denied, let me be as I was and die betimes.
You promised me.
I did, my lord of Cardochia. You see their hearts are joined already, so let our consent to this wished marriage.
I forgive me thine errors, give me thy hand.
Sorry, that was me. I forgive thine errors, give me thy hand.
Me thine. But wilt thou love my daughter, my Constanza?
As my bliss.
I thee as life, youth, beauty, anything that makes life comfortable.
Live together one, ever one.
Heaven crown your happiness.
How now, sir? How like you a prison?
As gallants do a tavern, being stopped for a reckoning, scurvily.
Though you caged us up never so close, we sung like cuckoos.
Well, you be yourself now.
Myself? Am I out of my wits, Soto?
Here now are none but honorable friends. Will you, to give a farewell to thy life, you had led as gypsies, these being now found none, but noble in their births, altered in fortunes, give it a merry shaking by the hand, and cry adieu to folly.
We'll shake our hands and our heels if you'll give us leave.
And Sancho and Soto dance.
On brides and bridegrooms to your Spanish feasts, invite with bent knees all these noble guests.
And presumably segue into a jig. End of play. Okay, so I'd forgotten half of those. Oh, you're the thing with the sister, the lost at sea, and I'd actually forgotten all that stuff. I had to yet to be tied up, and yeah, there it all is, and it's like. I just kind of wish that he goes, no, I'm sorry you were committed for a crime. Just because I happen to be now related to you, I'm sorry, I'm still going to have to kill you. I kind of feel I'd like that. So you just get terrible justice happening throughout the whole play as a sort of theme. That would actually be quite interesting. I mean, it wouldn't make it, this is the problem. It's trying to be a tragi-comedy, but it's made the tragedy too high early on for the comedy to land, and that's sort of where its structure slightly falls down. Whereas if people think they've killed somebody else or they're going for revenge and then last minute have a change of heart, that's sort of fine. But it's like, yeah, it's very hard to pull back from that position. So, yeah. Who guessed that she'd turn out to be related to somebody? I never thought that was going to happen. Totally unexpected.
Yep.
It was only unexpected because I'd forgotten about it. Because there's so many random things happening. This play's got too much plot.
They told us that whole plot bit in one speech, in which they also told us about Alvarez killing Luis's dad. So I feel it's a bit okay that we forgot.
Yeah, but this is the structural problem with this play. It's got too much plot, and there's no time to actually deal with the various bits of the plot because they're doing all of the plot. So it's, you just have incidents. You just have so many random incidents as well crammed in there that don't quite go anywhere. Lynn.
Yeah, if plot is the incidents and story is the reason, it has too much plot and not enough story. Like, not enough, why is this happening? Like, I mean, maybe I just missed it, but why are Fernando's sister and daughter in disguise, and why didn't they reveal themselves sooner? Like, what was there a rationale for that I missed?
You know, and the guy doesn't recognize his own sister. I mean, it's like you know, I know disguise, early modern plays, all the rest of it, but there does come a point where, you know, if you're doing disguise, you need to be disguised, and it's like they're not even. Yeah, it's just time. Anyway, I'll go to Mark, then Eric, then Sarah, then Susan.
Yeah, I mean, it seemed to be established earlier that like Alvarez had been banished, and Fernando is just finally working with Lewis, who he thought was being sincere in wanting to see Alvarez reconciled, which eventually he was, but he wasn't at that point sincere in that wish. But yeah, so I mean, really, it's just kind of convenience, as is often the case with modern plays, that it's revealed around the time that it might have been revealed anyway. Of it being like, well, if I'm gonna convince you not to kill my new son-in-law Don John, then I should probably reveal that I'm actually your sister and this is your daughter. But yeah, it does feel, and I don't think it's just because we've done this over multiple days, like it has been easy to kind of forget what the reasons that we have been given are, because they're kind of just said like once.
Yeah, and Eric.
Well, I was going to say that if you play this at breakneck speed, because, like, you know, as Alan pointed out in the chat, it's very much like Gilbert and Sullivan stuff, where, like, even the plot holes or, like, the whys and wheres and everything would not really matter, because if you play it at breakneck speed, you wouldn't have time to process any of this. It would just be like, I mean, the audience definitely wouldn't. The actors need to know who is who and all that stuff, because obviously we're performing it, hopefully. But like the sort of thing of, you know, why someone is doing what, it's basically like a musical. You know, you don't really care why I don't know, the neighbor next door is singing to.
No, Eric, come on. You know, those are really well thought through.
Well, yeah, but I think the objective, because I love you know, plays that are fundamentally silly and rattle at a great pace. The problem is we've got Clara, and the Clara plot kills that stone dead because the stakes are completely out of sync with the rest of the play. The rest of the play is incredibly silly and in a GNS mold, apart from Clara, and I don't think the play reconciles that. It almost did. It looked like it was going to do that last session because some of that stuff was great, and then it just went no conventional ending. This is how it's going, and it sort of it taints the rest of the play, which is the problem. Sarah, then Susan, then Lois, then Alan, then Lois. It's all getting a lot of speakers.
Yeah, and the fact that there have been some really good scenes kind of makes it worse in a way. Like, because if it had just all been silly nonsense all the way through, it wouldn't have really mattered. But actually, when you have these scenes that kind of are really compelling and, you know, psychologically hang together, and then you're like, no, where did that play go? Where did that play go? Bring it back. It's just, it makes it more frustrating. I just wanted to pick up on a couple of things. One thing that like, basically what Mark was saying, like, yeah, would she have even told him that she was his sister if Don Juan hadn't been dragged off to prison? It was like, oh yeah, no, I need to tell you this now. Like, you can't have him killed because, you know,
Your
we're
daughter
family. But it's like, was she gonna tell him otherwise? I mean, for crying out loud. Anyway, that's beside the point. You were saying earlier, Rob, about disguises, and all the business with the disguising with the, you know, the sister. That the thing that made that even more irritating for me, at least, was the fact that yesterday, one thing I actually really enjoyed, one of the many things I enjoyed about yesterday's session, was that actually Fernando sees his son, sees Roderigo in disguise, and immediately goes, "Oh, for crying out loud, that's my son in disguise." Pretending to be a gypsy. What the hell is he doing? Right, okay, I'm just going to play along and I'm going to have him. And it's like you know, that whole early modern disguise thing just doesn't work, and he sees straight through it. And I was like, yes. And the audacity of, and I know it was probably a different playwright, but even so, this is a play. This is a single play. No matter how many people had a hand in it, it was presented as a unified play, and the audacity of the playwrights to in one scene go, yeah, that's a shit disguise, I can see right through it, and then like literally 4 scenes later for him to not even recognize his own sister, the same character. I'm like, come on, it's not even funny, it's just annoying.
And the thing is, I feel that very likely that, you know, that a lot of playwrights or performers, you know, sat down and picked this play apart because, you know, in about 10 years' time, James Shirley's going to write The Sisters, which has many overlapping things from this. And it's like, maybe James Shirley watched this and went, you know what, I could just do this sillier without the horrible sexual assault.
I could do this
plot.
only not bad.
And because The Sisters was great, and it's not exactly the same as this. It's got some shared material, but it's like it's like we don't even have to talk about how do we improve this play. We do this one, in, you know, or another play that follows this is probably in the same line as this. There's quite a few plays that are doing this kind of business, and it's just frustrating that this one is sort of missing. When it could have been such a joy. Susan, then Alan, then Lois.
This is the most dangerous kind of play as an actor. I can feel myself, I would giggle relentlessly throughout this. It's not quite funny, and there's not funny enough gags to work towards, but you'd be getting yourself in a lather to try and keep the bubble going. I mean, this would be a nightmare for performers, a nightmare, I think. The only other person writing like that doesn't have, you can't root it in any truth story, you know, is Joe Orton, when he has lots of entrances and you come on and go, what are you doing with your trousers down? And then you come off, and the next one, you know, it's a bit like that is at least got some laughs, but it's.
Well, I mean,
am I wrong?
It does have laughs, but then it doesn't. I mean, it's like it flips between doing broad comedy to doing incredibly serious, you know, tragedy, which is what tragi-comedy is all about, flipping from one emotional state to another. I say it's just got the balance of the stakes wrong. I think that's the big problem that this play has. And then when you have that reconciliation scene towards the end, you know, with you know, oh, here is Myra. I think you get a laugh in a scene that's supposed to be quite serious, and it's like it's quite difficult because it felt a bit thin. Anyway, Alan, and then Lois.
Yeah, I mean the dramatis personae does explain a bit more than, which is somewhat buried in the web of words, which is that Eugenia is, as well as being sister to Fernando, is also wife to Alvarez, which hence the disguise, because she presumably was subject to banishment as he was. And the fact of the non-recognition, if we're assuming that, I think we were saying Pretiosa was described as being young teenager. So he's not seen either Eugenia or Pretiosa or Constanza for a dozen years and more, whereas he'd probably seen his son a matter of days before he disappeared to Salamanca.
Yeah, but he would see it's his sister, his daughter. Yeah, she was a baby. He wouldn't recognize her, but his sister, for crying out loud.
Yeah, it's only a dozen years.
It's not that long.
Anyway, Lois.
Oh.
And then
Well, yeah, I was trying to think what bits of this excessive plot one could get rid of, and it's really difficult. I mean, I'd be inclined to dump Don John, but then what are you doing with Pretiosa, who seems to be important in this play? I'd love to dump her too, but I don't think one can. And then, but there's also the odd fact that Lewis is actually left high and dry in this play. I mean, there ought to be somebody for him to marry. And in fact, he's supposed to be challenging Roderigo. Roderigo keeps telling people, I can explain everything. I mean, one way to make this ending less awful would, in fact, be to have Roderigo and Lewis going out together, drawing their swords, and with the possibility that something nasty will happen to Roderigo. Hooray, everybody says.
No, yeah, I mean, we just turn it into a tragedy. I mean, it wouldn't be it wouldn't be difficult to do, and you just that would make it quite really weirdly disturbing, because it would be playing for laughs a lot of the time, and yet then everybody horribly dies, including Sancho and Soto, who I feel have to be accidentally run through or something.
Poisoned by food.
Food, yes, absolutely. We've got a banquet, for goodness sake, during a play within a play. How does nobody die during that? I mean, it's very disappointing. So Diego gets stabbed and dies, and that leads, because then you up the stakes. He's got to be killed at the end. So she kills her. Her husband dies, and then everybody's husbands die. That's how it ends.
And then they kill themselves,
No, they can just have a little happy dance at the end. I think that everyone else just goes, all the horrible men have died, la 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 la. I don't see anything wrong with this plan. I'll go to Mark, then Lynn.
I mean, in the script as it is, that's like Lewis is like, well, I'm okay now because I have a new dad. He murdered my original dad, but he seems like a good guy, so I'm happy now. But I was just going to say about the disguise thing, I do think ultimately that's a production challenge, is just like, you put Eugenia in an outfit that looks more genuinely like, whatever sort of thing you're doing with the gypsies in this whole production. But, you make that look like a more genuine kind of outfit. Whereas you put Roderigo in the most like stupidly obvious costume ever, and then it I think sells the recognizes his son bit better.
Especially as also towards the end of the play, where the whole thing's set in a circus, and literally we've just got dead clowns everywhere. I cannot see anything wrong with that as an aesthetic. Lynn, then Aliki.
Yeah, I kind of want to go back to Lois's mention of Lewis as a problem. Like, there really, plot-wise, isn't necessarily any reason that he should have been in love with Clara. Like, that kind of goes nowhere. And then in the end, I mean, he's there when Clara says, "I'm okay now. I have satisfaction. I have compensation." He doesn't put it together that the reason Roderigo marries her and she's okay with it is that he did in fact assault her. What he told Lewis is like, "Oh, I was going to, but then I changed my mind at the last minute, so she's okay." But Lewis doesn't figure out that must have been a lie, because now they're married. So like, why should he forgive his friend after he's a rapist, he's a liar, Lewis really is just sort of a plot gear, but he doesn't seem like a person.
Yes, because if he was in a tragedy, he'd be killing a lot of people, and it's like he's not allowed to kill anyone because it's a tragic comedy. So it's like, my calling, they have taken away my calling, so my character doesn't make sense. Aliki.
In defense of Alvarez, I think he killed him in a duel, so it doesn't count as murder.
No. Okay.
No. And that's what Alvarez says. "I'm going to take a sword in hand and I'll duel with you, but I'm going to lose on purpose so that you can kill me."
Yeah.
That would have been cool. I think they should go through the whole reconciliation thing and say, "I forgive you," and then stabs him. That would have been, that would have been good. That would have been good. I mean, the thing is, if you want to do it as a silly comedy, You just have to find a way of removing Clara or changing how that plot functions. It means, unfortunately, you have to lose a couple of really good scenes from the play. And that's where I'm thinking at the moment. I'm looking at those two scenes as workshop scenes and something to use in context somewhere else, because those scenes are really good. Those Clara scenes, they're absolutely fabulous. It's just they don't go anywhere, and that leaves us high and dry. And sometimes you have to take out good material to make a play function. And I kind of feel that that's really the only way to go with this, because it doesn't do enough with it later on to justify its presence in the play anymore. Lois.
Yes, you might have quite an interesting session of plays with, well, a title, which is actually the title of an essay by Suzanne Gossett, Marrying the Rapist, because there are a number of plays of which that is the ending. And it could be interesting to kind of weave them together in some way.
I don't think that's going to sell many tickets.
I don't know.
Possibly. Aliki?
I don't know. I mean, there's a whole kind of sleeping with the enemy genre of thriller that works really well for women. But are we on final thoughts? Because I think
we are well beyond final thoughts.
Okay, so it is very rare for me to disagree with Sarah, and it is quite rare for me to disagree with you. So I'm going to disagree with both of you. I really want to keep the problematic bits. I think it's so interesting trying to reconcile that and failing. And I think there must be a way of presenting it that one could find that would highlight the horribleness and poke fun at the too much plotting, and generally kind of put the whole thing in a framework of, I don't want to say quite early modern bingo, but there's an element of that where you could really make this sing. I don't want to get rid of those scenes. I think those are great scenes, and I like them the better for being alongside things that don't quite work, as well as alongside the silliness. And I don't know, sometimes I get these passions for texts, and I have one for this. I really want it to be made to sing for a modern audience.
Kyle.
I actually agree with Aliki. I feel like this is the romance genre has that weird like where everything has to be a kind of strange miracle. And sometimes they work, even though they don't work logically, they work like emotionally, tonally. And I feel like that, also even just that absurdness of like kind of this crazy violence that's forgiven, that doesn't feel like you should forgive it, but yet it's almost absurd in its celebration of forgiveness. I don't know. I think it's interesting, and sometimes it works even though it's not logical.
Well, at some point we'll do it and find out what it does, just with probably some very, very, very large content warnings on the pre-publicity. Any additional final thoughts? Because we have technically out of time, but Lynn.
Oh, well, yeah, I'd kind of like to bounce off of Aliki and Kyle, because I love romance. Romance is my favorite genre.
Sorry, that's my doorbell. I'm going.
Okay.
Hi.
But what I would say about this play is it understands romance form, but not its substance. That romance does this job of convincing us to buy the story, even though we know it's ridiculous and unlikely, because of the emotional satisfaction that gets. And I don't think this play does that. You don't have enough explanation of why the women are in disguise. You don't have enough. It ticks the boxes, but it doesn't have a romance soul. It just has a romance face. It would be really interesting, but I wouldn't throw real production values over it. A reader's theater production of it might be really interesting. It doesn't require any costumes or anything, so it's like maybe a modern dress is something that would like really inexpensive production, but it's not a huge cast too. So yeah, is it worth it?
Well, we're not here to judge worth. It's just how we do
Yeah.
it. One day we'll do it.
Okay.
And
All right.
on our own head be it. Well, that we have run massively out of time. All that remains is to thank all the wonderful readers for all their wonderful reading. We will return to this in some fashion in the future. I don't know where, I don't know when, but it will happen, and we'll probably regret it for the rest of our lives. All that remains is to thank everyone. Thank you very much, everyone, and goodbye. Cobby Nobby.